Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today. It's something that's actually really very important to me. I would say it's a topic that's close to my heart. So this is a picture of myself and the Women's Mentorships team. It's something that I began at Catholic Pacific 4 years ago. And I just bring this up because it's very important to me to help people develop their personal brand, and I think people need to have a voice in creating your personal brand. So basically, this was us. I'm not sure if there's many women on the call, but this was us in 4 years ago, and today I'm very proud to see that we've grown this mentorship program. And the reason I mentioned the mentorship program, our women's mentorship program, is that when we start every cohort every year, we basically start off the year with a personal branding session. So we bring someone externally in to do a session with all of the team. And then at the very end of this session, we also bring someone back to do a photography session. So everybody finishes the year with a really nice professional LinkedIn photo. So they're ready to basically, challenge the world and get their voices out there. So it's something that I've been working on for quite some time, and basically something that I'm very passionate about. So really, thank you very much for letting me join you today. So if you don't know me, I'm Lisa Delaney. I'm working at Cathay Pacific, been there for almost 6 or 7 years now. But I have a background basically in marketing and advertising, and I'm very excited to be here today. So to get things off, started today, really just planning to go through like 20, 30 minutes of a presentation. So a few slide decks. I've tried to put in a few examples of things that I've learned along the way. And also, it's very interactive. So, I know we'll be doing questions at the end, but please do feel free to jump in if you want. So it's really a few things that I wanted to cover today is really why building your personal brand is so important. I think one of the things that you'll notice today is that there's a lot more people talking about it as well these days, whereas before it was kind of something nobody even addressed or spoke about. But I think it's really important, and especially in the world of AI, that we actually put our voices out there. And that the nice thing about LinkedIn, and it's one thing I'll talk about, is that it's a platform where you can really discern and you can decide what you want your voice to be. So you are the maker of this journey. So what I'm going to cover today is that maybe a few tips on how to use LinkedIn efficiently and effectively. So I'm not sure who on the call has set up their LinkedIn or how well set up it is. So I'll go through a little bit of the foundations, a few of the things that I've noticed from some people that have done a nice job, and maybe you can learn a few things from. And then also, obviously, once you get your LinkedIn account set up, one of the things that's really important is like, how do you grow it? How do you develop your network and your connections? So I'll give a few tips on that from my side. And I think just one final point here to say is that, by setting up your LinkedIn and by promoting yourself and your company and all of the work that you're doing, it's actually a really win-win for you and your company. So we see now more and more companies encouraging their employees to talk about the work that they're doing, to get the brand out there. And I was actually on a call I think last week, where an agency was speaking about specifically working with companies where they're actively encouraging their teams to post on LinkedIn. And so it's really a win-win for you and your company, and it's something that we're seeing more and more of. Even when we look at, just to give the AI kind of context, because we're living in this kind of AI world and everything is changing. But even when we look at the PR and some of the major media outlets that we're working with, so the Telegraph, the Times, all of these kind of major publications, they are also looking at how do they make their journalists those kind of figureheads? How do we make them a personality? And the thinking behind it is that if this person is posting and writing about the things that are important to them, and they gain that following, then those people are naturally going to follow the publication. So it's really something that's growing, and that's why it's something that's really important and worth investing in. So this is one of the things, building your personal brand. I think Obviously, I do a lot of work with women, and I'm really an advocate of women promoting themselves and being a little bit having that voice. And I think women tend to shy away from things. So I know there's men and women on this call, but just to address that, what I find a lot is that women quite often, put their head down, work really hard, and or even a lot of introverts as well. You may be putting your head down and doing all this work and really delivering on stuff and thinking that people are going to notice you. And unfortunately, that's not really the case. So I think we need to be a little bit bolder, a little bit more, it's not very British, I think, to say, but a little bit more promotional in style, in that don't be afraid to use your voice and don't be afraid to speak out. So I think LinkedIn is a really safe platform to do that on because it's in your control and basically you decide how much content do you want to put out there? What do you want to talk about? I also think it's a platform that is not so maybe you don't get so many negative comments, I would say, or you don't get so much bullying or any of those things that you maybe see in other types of social media platforms. So I think it's a really good space to kind of experiment and practice on. And the LinkedIn platform, it's also for business. I mean, anything like job opportunities, all the recruiters, all the major businesses are on there. It's a great space for collaboration, for meeting people, and you never know where that network is going to take you. So I think just, putting a little bit more effort and thinking about a little bit more, you know, uh, deeply, I guess, or just, a bit more concise about how you build your brand, it's really kind of more and more important. So highly recommend that everybody gives it a go. So yeah, so why spend time and effort on LinkedIn? So one of the things we talked about, especially in this AI world, right, is that it's still all about people and still about connections. And the thing is that on LinkedIn, on these social media platforms, you actually don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the best. You don't need to be any of those things. You just need to be the most memorable, known, and trusted person, right? So people at the end of the day want to do business with people they know, trust, and like. And what happens is when you're posting on LinkedIn, this platform actually gives people an opportunity to get to know who you are, and it builds trust. And through that, what happens is that you basically attract other people who think like you, who want to follow you, who want to hear what you have to think, what you have to say, what's your insights, what's your story. And that is how you kind of organically grow your tribe and grow those people who want to follow you. And I have to say that I find that it's funny because like when you're following someone on LinkedIn, there's a couple of people that I'm following and I saw them at an event and I felt like I personally knew them, even though we had never actually spoken. And so it's a way of communicating and for people to get to know who you are without having to, it's at scale, right? So you can let people know who you are at a massive scale without having to talk to everyone. So it is worthwhile doing. And the super, super interesting thing is 1%. The 1% is a massive factor on LinkedIn, right? So on LinkedIn, only 1% of people share their content weekly. That means 99% of the people are actually just consuming content. So that 1% also is generating like billions of impressions. So it's a massive advantage, especially on LinkedIn. So by posting, 2 or 3 times or just being active 2 or 3 times a week on LinkedIn is going to have a massive advantage for you. I can even say personally, so for example, I've been, posting a little bit more regularly. I think the new year, okay, I'm going to be more active. I'm going to be more conscious about what I'm doing. And I've run into people who are like, oh, you're really, you're all over LinkedIn. And I'm thinking, am I? Like literally, I've only done 1 or 2 posts, right? And what happens is the algorithm will show some of your older posts and you can actually gain momentum with that. And even, people I didn't even know. So I met up with a friend from Canada recently. She was in London visiting me, and, she said, "Oh, yeah, all the things you're doing with Cathay and da da da." And she seemed to know, I didn't even know she was on LinkedIn, right? I knew she's in Instagram, I know she's in Facebook, but I didn't even know she was on LinkedIn. So again, like all these people in the background kind of watching what you're doing. So what that means for you and the fact that you're on this call is that it's a huge opportunity. So you don't have to do a lot to have a big impact. And that's maybe different from some of the other platforms. So I think before you really start, posting and, doing all these things, it's really good to kind of take a step back and spend a little bit of time reflecting on like, what do you want to be known for, right? Like, what is it if someone talks, I talk a lot about marketing and business and obviously women in business. And I love reading books. I love taking things out of books or experiences. So but it's like, what do you want to be known for? And where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, right? So having that kind of view of like, okay, I want to be a marketer, I want to be a CEO, I want to be a, top scientist, I want to be in the tech scene. You can kind of decide where is it, you want to be in retail, you want to be a personal branding executive, I don't know, right? An entrepreneur, whatever you want to be, just kind of think about where you want to be, where that takes you. The other thing is that you should be thinking about what excites you and what gives you energy, right? I only post things that I am interested in. I have a rule of myself. I'm like, I'm only writing about stuff that I actually like and that I want to talk about. So it's really your voice. It's your opportunity. This is not school. This is not, you're not doing it for somebody else. You own this platform. This is yours. So you decide what you want to talk about. So it's like deciding, okay, what do I get excited about? What is it that I'm really going to put the energy in? Because when you post about that, people are going to feel that energy and they're going to be naturally attracted to you. And you can create some really interesting conversations from that. And on the other side, it's like what drains you. Okay, what am I not going to write about, right? I mean, this is of no interest for me. I may know about it. I may be an expert, but I don't want to write about it. So I think just having that kind of a little bit of navigation, a little bit of thinking about where you want to be. And then your values, I think, obviously comes into that whole personal brand. I mean, I'm very touching, on the top of the surface here about how do you, reflect on what is your personal brand. But it is worthwhile having a little bit of think about those kind of aspects. But on the other side, I also think, listen, don't overthink it, right? And you're not going to have all the answers. Life is a journey, and literally your brand can evolve over time, right? I mean, the person I was 20 years ago when I started out in advertising and marketing and I was saying that I wanted to get into, consultancy. I was a totally different person. What I would have written about 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it's changed, right? So, and you and your brand kind of change and evolve over time. So I think let's not analyze things too much. I think women, a lot of times we're trying to be perfectionists. So let's not be perfectionists. Let's just test and learn, try out a few things, and take baby steps and just see how it goes along. So don't wait for the perfection moment. So obviously you need to start with the basics and the foundations, right? I mean, if you're going to have a LinkedIn profile, the thing that you need to do is start with a strong profile. So you need a professional photo, right? Like go get a decent photo taken. It's not that much money, or get someone to take a really good photo of you. I think it's really worthwhile as well. I'll go into a few examples in a moment, but there's like the background banner image. It's a perfect place it can be something related to your work, to your studies, to who you are. You decide what you want it to be. Um, and I'll talk about the headlines and, how you can use that space to also communicate who you are, what you're about, and what you want people to think about you as well. And then it's really important that you spend some time on the about information. So you can use as much, so don't keep it short. The about, you can use as much copy as you want. Well, actually, I forget the number of characters, but it's still a really good space to write a good length of copy in there. And think about like when people come to your profile, they want to know who you are. What are you about? This is a great area to really talk about something that's more unique about you, what interests you, what you want to talk about. So it's a great space. And then obviously filling out the rest of your platform, so your profile. So just pulled out a couple of examples. So this is Nishma Patel. She's actually Patel Rob. She's actually a marketing person that I'm following, but she used to be in Google. She's now started up this business, and it is all about, helping women to stand out and be personal, build their personal brand and everything. But she's quite a character as well. So she's really worked on that. She always wearing sparkles and glitter, and that's why it's called the glitter sphere. And she's really created this whole persona for herself as well. But so you can see that she's got a really professional, nice photograph. And then this banner at the back, that's where you can make it whatever you want it to be. You can also use Canva and other different tools to create the banner for yourself. So it's really quite easy to do, and I think it's really worth it. Don't leave the generic LinkedIn one, even if you just put. I mean, for a while we have an image with the aircraft. We have a wing, a nice picture of a wing of an aircraft, and I just had that flying over the sky until I decided what I actually wanted to put up there. So just don't leave it blank. The other thing is this description area, the headline underneath here. So you can use the headline as much like how you want it to be, right? So I've just got a couple of different examples. So she's using something, her key message, invisible, unmissable revenue. She's an advisor. You can put lots of different things because we're multifaceted people. We are not just one thing quite often. So this gives you a space to put in a few of the different things that you are. Um, then this is Amelia Sordell. She has, apparently made millions from her personal brand. I mean, obviously she has like hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, I mean, it's incredible to have done this. But I just wanted to show how she has used a different line of copyright. So she's got a sentence. So I built a $4 million business off the back of my personal brand. Now I teach founders, etc. So she's done another approach, right? And another version is to just I tried to look at some that were more academic. So who are the academic voices, top voices on LinkedIn? And this was one of the ladies I found on there. So Willow Bay, she's a dean. I mean, she's kept it very generic, very clean. She's just gone with her title, right? So it's really up to you how you use that space. You can just have your job title where you are now, or if you're looking to expand or you want to have a little bit more breadth, you can have multiple different messages. And again, she is a top LinkedIn advocate, and she has 17,000 followers. This is another lady who I think is quite interesting because she was another top founder, top LinkedIn voice in this space, in the education space, and she has 5,000, 6,000 followers. But what I wanted to show with hers as well is that in her about section, she has put this note because about her opinions and everything on LinkedIn are her own. And I think I just bring that out because I think sometimes people worry about, if I'm working for a company, what's the impact? Is it okay for me to say what I want to say? So my message to you would be, it's your platform, it's your voice, you decide. Obviously, it's not a good idea to be slamming the company or, if you're working for a company, this is not where you want to be airing your grievances. I think that should be done at the company, but it's your voice. And if you're just a little bit worried about, what people might say or anything like that, you can always add in that little note that just, reiterates, this is your brand, this is your platform, you own it. So just to give you permission to do that. So don't be held back by what your friends and families and what the people you work with are going to say, etc. Just, it's yours, basically. Then this is there's a part in the profile which is called featured section, and I think a lot of people don't use it well enough, and it's a fantastic area. So basically on this featured section, you can use it again for whatever you want. So here is Amelia. She's obviously got her own business, so she's doing, personal brand hacks, and you can do, if you've got a newsletter that you're doing or a Substack or a blog or a you just want to promote something, this is a great place to do it. For myself, for example, I've put podcasts that I've been in, or you can actually add, I think that you can add as many as you want, but basically on the top here, you can edit and you can add any posts that you've done. If it's an important post that you think says a lot about you, maybe you want to put in your featured, maybe you wrote an article or you've done a piece of work and you want it to be featured, because this featured section stays there all the time. So obviously when you're posting, everything is kind of algorithmic and they'll see the top post, but this is something that sits there all the time. And I think it's something that people don't use enough. And it's a great area on your LinkedIn profile to use. So, in terms of like, how do you grow your presence and what is it that you need to do? I've kind of got the 4 steps, right? So if you look at number 4 is kind of the least resistance, easiest thing to do. It's really about reposting, right? So quite often Cafe Pacific will have like our head office team will do a really nice video or they'll have some nice content and it's very easy just to repost it. So you can repost it, and obviously this is like easiest thing to do. But bear in mind that you're not really getting much traction from it, and it's it's a good thing to do to repost if, especially if you're in a company or whatever, but it's not maybe the most effective if you want to grow your own presence and grow your own connections. The second least difficult thing to do, and maybe it's a good place to start, right? If you're not sure how to do things and you want to play it safe, these are easy things to do. For example, then you can repost something with some comments, right? So for example, recently Cafe, we did a really nice video about our vintage our vintage uniforms. So it's our 80th anniversary. We've got some really nice vintage uniforms that our crew are wearing. And I was like, oh, that's a really nice video. So I reposted and I put some comments, right? So that's super easy as well. So those are the 2 easiest things to do. The 2 things that are probably most high impact are number 1 and 2. So number 1 is to try and post regularly. And number 2 is commenting on other people's posts, but also commenting and engaging when people comment on your posts. So um, I think I do maybe one kind of, I guess, more thought or more deep or longer form post a week if I can. Usually on Sundays because I'm not a fast writer. It takes me ages to do these things. So I wish I was faster at it. But if I'm writing something that's a bit more reflective or I want to give some key takeaways or something, maybe it takes me a little bit longer. So that post might be a little bit longer. And then I might do another one. Maybe I've gone to an event and I met some great people or I had some great takeaways from an event, then that's something that's a lot easier to do. You have a nice picture, a few comments, hashtags, etc., and that's easy. So that's kind of one of the easy ways to keep your account active and keep the flow going. And then obviously that idea of commenting. So if you're going and obviously try and comment and make something a little bit more than, oh, great, great post. Or if you can post and comment with something that is a little bit more thoughtful, it's a good idea. Also, you might want to like decide who are you going to comment on. So you might want to identify, okay, who are the top leaders in my industry? Who is it that I want to follow? Who do I aspire to? Who do I think they do great work. I love this guy, John Sinai. He's like a real innovator, futuristic leader. And I'm like, oh, I love following. I actually I don't comment on his posts, but I'm like, I really love following him and for everything that he has to say. So I think finding those people that you want to follow and get inspiration from, and then where relevant, comment on their posts, obviously. So those are kind of the ways of actively posting and commenting and what you're doing on the platform. Obviously, when you go to events and things like that, you should try and connect with people. And an easy thing to do is obviously to connect with people in your work or in the space around you. So I think one of the biggest hurdles that everybody always talks about is like content. How do I create the content? It takes me so long. I don't know how to do it. How much do I need to do? And if you're on TikTok or something, they're like, oh, you need to be on TikTok every day, or you're on Instagram stories and you need to do all these things. So I mean, to be honest, the good thing about LinkedIn is that you don't have to post that often. So like I said, only 1% of the people are actually actively posting on LinkedIn weekly, which is crazy. So as I said, you can do, different posts but I think what is quite interesting, and this is when I go back to like defining your brand and what you want to talk about. So when I was looking at, okay, what content do I do? I use Trello, and I have a few different when I get ideas and different things, I put them in little buckets, if you like. But having it's shown on LinkedIn that it's better to have like a few different topics that you're talking about. So don't just stick to one thing and you're like only talking about this. Variety actually matters on LinkedIn. So it is good to vary your comments and your content. Um, so for example, I would talk about women in business, books that I love. I like reading books, although I don't always finish them. That's one of my bad points. So if I've found something, events that I go to, but my key pillars would be like women in business, marketing, obviously business in general, and just like personal development. So I think those are kind of a few of the areas I like to talk about. So deciding what you want to talk about and just test and learn, and also try doing your content on different days. Try it different timings, different lengths. So it doesn't always have to have an image. Although a lot of people, I quite like to post it with an image. I think it gets more standout when you're scrolling. You notice people content, but you don't have to. You can just do some text only. So it's about experimenting with it. But I think, we're finding more and more, obviously, it's really important not to rely too much on AI. So I'm not saying don't use AI, but don't be just like, AI, write me this content, because you will notice that more and more, actually, your unique voice is going to become even more important, and people are recognizing who has written content using AI and not actually thought about it or created or whatever. So it's about directing it. So just remember that it's your uniqueness that's going to bring people to you and make you stand out from the crowd. So of course we live in an AI world. So I mean, I had to put in a few AI hacks and things. I'm always learning and I'm always trying to find better ways of doing things. And I would love to be, consistent doing 3 posts a week. But yeah, it's like, how do you find the best way to do it? And so a few things that I've kind of found over the years or two is my favorite kind of AI thing at the moment is Whisperflow. So Whisperflow does voice to text. It's something you can also install on your laptop. So I sometimes using it when I'm at home, just um, doing voice. But what I found was that quite often I go to an event, I have a good like feeling of it. I'm like, oh, that was a really great event. I've learned these things, da 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 da. But as I go, I'll write my post later, or then I get busy with work, and then everything happens, and then I'm like, oh, it's too late to post it now, or whatever. I've missed the window. So what I've tried to do now is actually when I leave the event, I actually just do the, notes, and I use Whisperflow, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I went to this event. It was amazing. I blah, blah, blah. Here are my takeaways. And then I can just clean up once you have that draft, it's a lot easier to clean it up, right? So I think that is a major plus using your voice, and it's so much faster. And once you have the draft, it's a lot easier to clean it up. The other thing is like I also always try and write my thoughts first. So write your content first, write your thoughts, what you want to talk about, what are the key messages, before you put it into AI, right? Because then you can use AI as a sparring partner and you can tweak and go back and forth, and then making sure that it still has your voice. So now obviously you can train ChatGPT as well, so that when you put in, here's samples of my work that I've done, keep my tone of voice when you're, helping me with my LinkedIn content, for example. So using those kind of opportunities now, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using, to help train ChatGPT, but obviously don't rely on it, because it's your voice and that creativity and that special something about you that's actually going to make you stand out from all the other stuff that everybody else is doing. Obviously, AI for research is amazing. So I love Perplexity. I mean, it's my fave. If you're in the academic world, you probably use it a lot as well. I think it's a great tool. So using it to help think about, oh, here's my article, or here's my thought piece, or here's the things I was thinking, is there something else that I missed? Or can you reference some other pieces? Like, I want to talk about effective advertising, what are some other great pieces of work that I can use? I think that's great. And then lastly, I'll just say is one of the things now, obviously, we've heard a lot about SEO, and now there's GEO, right, which is general engine optimization, which is now for all the chat bots and things. But little things like tagging, when you alt tag your images, so making sure you put descriptions in there, it just makes you more findable on all the search engines. So it helps build your profile overall, and helps tackle the whole AI thing. And then lastly, I would just say that, building your personal brand, obviously it's not just all about online, the stories that you tell online and your voice online, but so much of it is also offline. So I think one of the things that's really still important to attend different events and conferences, and if you can speak at events, put yourself forward to speak on panels, write articles, write white papers, do all of those kind of things where you can just get your voice out there. If you've done any interviews, for example, if you're in a specific industry that's quite niche, you might be able to get some interviews, and that also helps build your voice. And obviously getting guests on podcasts is also a great way. One of the things I would say that I think I was really bad at the very beginning. So I did an MBA, and we went on these international electives, and we met so many amazing people. And I left it I left it too long. I didn't connect with those people, right? So I think when you go to an event, or when you see someone speaking, I mean, right after or at the event, connect with them and say, "Oh, I loved the conversation," or you were, inspirational, or I loved blah blah blah, what you talked about. So yeah, I think just building your network and your connections all the time. So I think anyone that you meet, whether it's events, conferences, people you're working with, people you're chatting with. And the easiest thing is, like, a lot of things that I post, a lot of my Cathay Pacific people will always like it, right? Because I'm working for them. So it's an easy win for us. So find your supporters, I guess, is what I was trying to say, the people that will always help you make it better. And yeah, that was it, I think. Maybe just a couple of minutes over, but some time for Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. That was absolutely amazing. I do have a question for you, but before I do that, I'll just send this message into the group chat. So I've just put there some of the tools that Lisa was speaking about during the presentation and what their purposes are. If anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand or put it into the chat. But otherwise, I'll start with mine. So we've obviously spoken about how to brand yourself on LinkedIn. But what are some of the things that you've seen that has come as a benefit from doing that? I assume some kinds of opportunities, but what generally?
Yes, exactly. Good question. Well, I think you found me on LinkedIn, so that's the first one. Yes, I think it's so important. So, I mean, I get approached by recruiters. I get invited to different events, so industry events, roundtable dinners, speaking at conferences. Yeah, just general connections as well. So I think really yeah, a lot of it tends to be offline, actually. So they'll connect with me on LinkedIn and then be like, come to this event. Can you speak for us? We'd love to have you on our podcast, or just different ways to connect. So I think it's really been, I would say in the last couple of years, I've tried to be more conscious about building that profile. And I think that one of the things I've learned along in my journey is that I should have started it earlier. I think, and it's part of your network. I think as I was not very proactive in this area before. And I think also even just, I mean, LinkedIn is a part of it, right? I feel it's like my Rolodex of people and where they all are. But actually, it's meeting them in person, and then I'm adding them to my Rolodex, if you like, if that's very old school. But I think what happens as well is that we get so busy in our day job, and then you think, oh, I don't have time to go to that conference. I don't have time to go to the event. Of course, it's time consuming, but I make time for it because I know how important it is, and I wish I had done that earlier. And I think that women are particularly poor at building our network, and I think guys tend to be better at it than us. And I don't know if it's just women, we think, oh, we're selling to them and we don't want to, we kind of hold ourselves back, and networking sounds so like salesy and it sounds so wrong, but actually it's your network is your wealth as well. And I think I've joined like a number of different programs. I'm now part of like the Marketing Society, and I'm proud to be part of the Marketing Academy, which I've met so many amazing people, but it's also like, how can I help them, right? So can I connect them to someone else if they're looking for a freelancer? Oh, yeah, I know someone who did some great photography for us. Here's someone I recommend. So I think it's give and take, but I think don't underestimate the power of all of this.
I definitely agree. And I think it's kind of a cyclical situation where you post about going to an event or a conference, but then you get invited to some more, and then more people meet you there, but then you have another post and it kind of just opens up another world. But I guess it's really good, like you said, that everyone has joined this meeting because we're at the stage where we should be thinking about those things. So we don't hopefully feel like we should have started. Well, I guess you could always start sooner, right? But yeah, it is
No,
amazing.
no time like the present, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. For
So
example, I just posted something like a couple of weeks ago, and right away, the next day, I got invited to an event with Sky, right? And I know that we've met before, but I know that I was top of mind because I had just I had done the post like a day or two before. So that it's that top of mind recognition.
yeah, I myself actually went to an event, I think around this time last year, and I hadn't known anyone or anything going into the event. I left with plenty of connections, and actually some of those connections have helped with internships and other things that have happened. And I didn't go there expecting that. So I do recommend, even if it feels like you're overwhelmed, just taking that time to go to events and meeting people, because them meeting you there, they're also nervous. Like sometimes you forget that people are people, they have their own reservations. People come to events not with a bad mind, right? They want to connect as well. So meeting someone who is equally enthusiastic about whatever that event is about is always helpful, and you leave a lasting impression.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I used to hate going to events, to be honest. Or like I used to be very shy in these like networking events, and I was like, what am I going to say? But yeah, I think that yeah, like you said, everybody is there to meet other people. So and if it's a topic that you enjoy and a conversation, then you'll have a good time.
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions? If not, I want to thank everyone for their time, especially Lisa. I will also announce the fact that we have multiple webinars and events coming up over the next few months. So in March, we have a personal finance event, webinar, done by a certified financial advisor. We have our first birthday in April. We have an event coming up at the end of at the end of May in Birmingham that we haven't yet released, but we do have a collaboration with the University of West London that has been released, which is a conference, and we hope to see you guys there. The conference is open to all universities and all disciplines. We're welcoming registration as well as abstracts for the poster or presentation, and there are awards to be won, and they're pretty good awards if I do say so myself. So please do sign up. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and hopefully I see you at the next event. Oh, we
All
have
right.
someone in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks.
Right. No worries. Have a good day,
Thank you
guys.
very much. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.